Next gen is here, and with it comes what's supposed to be a tremendous leap in the technology powering these big, dumb-looking plastic boxes. There haven't been very many games in the early months of this new generation's life cycle, and while what has come out has been impressive in terms of load times dropping to literal seconds, ray tracing, higher frame rate caps, it still doesn't feel like there's anything to really show us the extent of what these consoles can do. What has impressed me the most, though, out of anything else, has been the PS5 DualSense controller. This controller sets the bar far ahead of anything it's in competition with, and it also makes next gen actually feel next gen. The DualSense doesn't change how we interact with games, but it changes how our games interact with us. And it's possibly the most impressive thing I've seen in gaming in the last decade. So in the rollout of this new generation of consoles, Sony revealed their newest iteration of the DualShock controller, the DualSense. They advertise upgrades such as the haptic triggers, HD rumble, DualSense motion, and of course, when most people saw it, they just went, "Oh, cool," and went about their day. After being hands-on with it for over a month straight, it's proved to be way more impressive than I feel like anybody gave it credit for back then. After setting everything up, my very first game I decided to try out was the free download of Astro's Playroom that comes pre-installed on the PS5. Within seconds, the game demonstrated to me how distinct the new vibrations feel, with Astrobot's buddies being stuffed into the controller on screen, and me being able to feel the weight and bounce of each little robot body against the sides of the controller. Immediately after that, it demonstrated to me just how amazing these new triggers are. In allowing me to press down the triggers to feel the increasing vibration and tension that perfectly match the feeling of controlling the boosters. I was totally blown away, mouth completely agape, feeling the childlike joy of discovering something that feels completely new and even kinda magical. This feeling continued and even heightened when I got into the rest of the game and realized that the controller was being used consistently throughout the entire game. You can feel each and every step of Astro's journey, and I mean that literally. From the pitter-patter of his little feet on the metal floors that even changes texture as he moves to different terrain, to each transformation he has throughout the game. Even the items you collect gave feedback to the controller through sound effects and distinct pops that you can feel through the vibration, making you feel much more directly involved to what's happening on screen. My amazement continued into my time with Bugsnax, which had each and every creature yell their name through the controller like Pokemon. It also made use of the triggers by imitating a real-life camera shutter as you took photos in the game. After trying out the few other offerings on the PS5, I was saddened to notice that not every game was making full use of this incredible tech. Jumping into Devil May Cry 5 Special Edition had me wondering how could an action game play with this controller, and the announcer whispering to me through my controller made me even more excited to see. But upon actually getting into the game, I found that the only way it uses this tech is being able to feel Nero's motorcycle sword revving up as you hold down the left trigger. Which is really cool, but left me wanting much more for the multiple characters in that game. Controllers for the Xbox and PlayStation haven't felt innovated on for a while. They've been essentially the same controller for the past few generations, just with slightly different shapes. The PS4 controller did have motion control tech, but since it was rarely used aside from getting me killed in Until Dawn, I don't fault anyone for not really noticing, but that's why I'm making this video on the PS5's controller. If gone unused, this would be another flash in the pan gimmick that'll be forgotten about by the next generation, and I think this incredible controller deserves more than that. This controller has not only impressed me, but has greatly enhanced my experience with the games I've played it with. It's made them much more memorable experiences than if the controller did nothing, like every other controller does. It got the gears in my brain turning, thinking of ways that other games would be able to benefit from it. Call of Duty has different feedback for the triggers depending on what gun you're using, but imagine a scenario where your gun jams and the trigger doesn't pull. Imagine a horror game where you're in a hauntingly dark house and you can feel each slow step you take while exploring. Just imagine what Kojima would do with this controller. He'd probably have it actively working against you. New additions to how we play and interact with our games haven't been coming around as often as we'd hope. Each generation comes with shiny new graphics, faster processing power, but often the same games, the same controllers, and the same ways to play them. I genuinely think that if Sony presses each third-party and first-party developer to come up with creative ways to use this controller, it'll push the rest of the industry to keep it in mind for the future, which will evolve it into something greater. That's only if it gets used though, and hopefully we haven't seen the last of what this controller can do.